have a confession to make. I don't live in my apartment by myself. I know, that might sound super weird to some people. Like, what do you mean? You literally never talk about your roommates. How do I know they exist? Blah, blah, blah. Well, here's my grand explanation to all of that. I have 2 roommates, and they're quiet as heck. They're also very much into having their own space. They wouldn't have felt comfortable if I blatantly talked about them, names and all, and I would have felt bad. But they gave me permission this time around. I'm actually just starting to get to know them, even though I've been living with them for months. Anyway, I've gotten to know them more, and I've also realized they've both got a great sense of humor, so they were super duper down for me to practically roast them in this video. Should I explain a roast? You know what? Nah, I'm not gonna. You use context clues if you're confused. But yeah, they gave me permission to talk a bit of smack, and while I will most definitely feel bad about this later, this is going to feel probably a little bit too good. So, let's begin with the fact that my roommates are super freaking creepy. Why are they so creepy, you may be asking? Because they never talk! I swear, they resemble the weird introvert character in cartoons that just pop up at random and freak people out with their random input that they don't even give until the midway into the conversation. The amount of times I've jumped because they walked into a room and I had initially assumed they were an axe murderer coming from my neck is staggering. I'm not saying I want them to be loud. I think having loud roommates might be worse. I'm an extrovert, don't get me wrong, but I'm an extrovert with standards. Standards that include people to not be annoyingly loud all the freaking time. Even I find that obnoxious. So yeah, they're super quiet, and I never know when they're coming around the corner. I would have to assume the house is haunted if it weren't for the fact that I know my roommates, and I'm convinced that they tiptoe around the house just to creep me out. Seriously, they never announce their presence in the house, so I'm always trying to guess whether or not they're home. And that's even worse, because I'm apparently really bad at that too. When they're home, I've decided they're not home, and when they're not, I've assumed that they are until I walk through the front door of the apartment. The amount of quality time I've missed having to myself because I'm terrible at assuming whether or not they're home is quite sad. A part of me is seriously tempted to add a bell to each of their ankles when they sleep, just so I know where the heck they are. These 2 are also night owls. I mean, I am too, but I'm the night owl that never leaves her room. They leave their room. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment if you guys didn't know that already. It's small. 1 hallway, 1 bathroom, 2 bedrooms. The bathroom gets so messy so freaking quick though. You might now be asking me, why the heck I don't just talk about them with the whole quiet thing? Here's the thing. I'm a wimp. What do I mean by that? I'm an extrovert, right? Wouldn't I be all about the idea of talking to them? No. The answer is no. Well, the answer used to be no. Again, I've got to know them a little bit more, so we're all more comfortable, but initially, no. Why? They are the creepiest. We're the creepiest. Well, no. Okay, I don't know whether they still fit in the category of creepy or not. I'm going to have to get to know them a little bit more to figure that out, but as far as I've known, they've been the creepiest human beings ever. They're the adult versions of the twins in The Shining. They are literally always together. They practically talk the same, they almost look the same, and the weirdest part is the fact that they aren't even related. Yeah, you heard that right. They've apparently been best friends since they were young. They've spent all of their time together in that time and somehow managed to morph themselves into bacteria that managed to duplicate? That's mean. Okay, they're not bacteria, but the universe said copy-paste on them. They could totally be related. I'm assuming people make that mistake all the time. They still spend all of their time together though. When I see them, they're literally never apart. When we all moved in together, they said they had no problem giving me a single room. They'd been looking forward to finally sharing a room together for a long time. Now, I totally wouldn't have a problem with this if I had known what the reason was sooner. Do you know how long I just kind of walked around the apartment just kind of assuming that they were super creepy by default because they spent every walking moment together for no reason? I was convinced they might hex me in my sleep. They were never really verbal about how they felt about me until recently, and so I thought they hated me. I mean, anytime I tried to get to know them or ask about their lives, they just kind of gave me these blank stares and looked at each other before giving the shortest and vaguest answers that I just kind of said, okay, and moved on. The way they were around me in general just kind of made me convinced that they were going to suffocate me in my sleep, regardless of what they said. If I came into the house and they were home, they were almost always watching a creepy horror movie or something. And when I come through the door, they're just staring at me a little longer than the average human should really be staring at a person. Those days, I usually just sped into my room to finish whatever schoolwork or other things I had to do that day and move on with my life while subtly avoiding them. Did I mention that they talk at the same time sometimes? Or the fact that I might ask if they had seen a specific thing and they just point in the same direction silently? They know where everything in the house is at all times, and I seem to lose track of everything. I always made sure to keep an eye on that in case anything went missing. You know, though, I'm going through this and I know they're going to laugh their butts off watching this. They told me they wanted to watch this one. Now, if you're really confused as to why, let me explain. They're both pretty introverted, and for that sake, I'm going to leave their names out of this video because I value their input. Maybe a couple of weeks ago, I came back home from work and they were both actually trying to get to know me. I was really confused, and they were giggling and enjoying themselves the whole freaking time I was questioning whether I was actually in the Twilight Zone or not. If you're not aware of what the Twilight Zone is, please, I beg you, watch the series. It's a good one. The only thing creepy that I love to death. Plus, who doesn't love black and white? Actually, while we're on the topic, that's how we all kind of bonded. I noticed they were watching an episode of The Twilight Zone, and it was the first episode I had ever watched as a kid. The one where the 3 astronauts come back home from a mission, and one of them realizes that they're disappearing one by one. I thought it was the most mildly creepy and extremely intriguing things ever. I got Hugo hooked on it. Even got Alice into it. The 3 of us talk about it non-stop. I pointed at the TV when I saw it, and told them that I was a die-hard Twilight Zone fan. The amount of excitement I saw on their faces freaked me out. I had never seen that much emotion on their faces ever. We ended up fangirling over the series all the while I was busy questioning what was going on. They explained to me later as we watched another episode that they weren't exactly sure what to think of me since they're not exactly fond of extroverts. But the more they got to know me, the less freaked out they were. In their eyes, I'm the normal amount of extrovert a person can be for them to hang out with. I get it. Social batteries are not the same for everyone. Plus, I've got my 2 best friends who are the definition of introvert. Are they as creepy as my roommates? No, I'm pretty sure no one that I know is as creepy as them, but that's besides the point. I don't feel bad for freaking them out when I first met them. They don't blame me either. They're not that good with new people. It takes them time to feel comfortable, and they just needed time. But yeah, they knew they were freaking me out a little bit. They're observers though, so they don't feel bad about anything they've done either. Honestly, I think I really like them for that. They're some of the first people I've been super real with. Nothing goes unsaid between any of us. We all tell each other like it is. It's kind of nice. I've learned to take nothing they say too hard, just something to keep in mind. They've never really had issues with any of the other things that have left my mouth, which makes me feel really good. Quiet roommates? Creepy, but I guess not when you get to know them. So, while I might have debated in the past about moving, I think I'm gonna be fine right where I am now. So, big thanks to them. I've also never had a roommate before, and they made easing into that a bit of a challenge. But I can probably take on any roommate that comes my way in the future. Sorry guys, but not sorry. You guys already knew that though, didn't you?